We are back with another episode of The Buzz. I'm your host, Sherwin with Gospel Music Buzz, and today we have the honor of speaking with Reverend Lennox Yearwood, President and CEO of the Hip Hop Caucus, minister, U.S. Air Force veteran, and one of the nation's most respected voices at the intersection of culture, climate, and social justice. Reverend, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Indeed. So, 20 years right now since Hurricane Katrina, 2 decades since Katrina devastated New Orleans. What does this anniversary means for you personally and for the communities that's still impacted?
For me personally, I'm from Louisiana. And so this had a devastating moment. I actually was in D.C. Hip Hop Caucus was started 21 years ago. So we had just a Hip Hop Caucus, which was in D.C. And then when Katrina hit, it was hurtful to see your community underwater. And when you looked at, you felt helpless. And Hip Hop Caucus immediately got involved. I was the benefit of being the president of Hip Hop Caucus. we immediately got involved and haven't turned back. But we realized that people were dying. They were being mistreated. They were being put into buses never to return. And it was a lot of injustice. Hospitals were being closed down. Schools were being closed down. So, personally, it was a hard moment. But since that time, we've fought every single year. We've gone back every year, and we've built out within the community. And this year obviously is special. On these anniversaries, commemorations are key. But this year marks the 20-year commemoration of that, and so we go into that with our hearts still grieving for those we lost, but we are on fire to talk about what we got to do forward, particularly in this moment that we're in now.
Mm. Excuse me. Wow. I think the way you said it is that while it's still reverent in everything that has happened, but there's still that hope and that joy and just that, like you said, that fire of just, the work that has been brewing over the last 20 years just to kind of take that even further. And I was reading something you said, you said that Katrina wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a failure of justice. Can you expand a bit on that for anyone that may not initially get that?
Most definitely. Well, one, we're in a climate crisis. And the climate crisis really was made evident by Hurricane Katrina. And it was evident by how rapidly that storm increased. And we had storms since then doing the same thing. So, but there are reasons why we are in a climate crisis, and it's because of fossil fuels and pollution. And so that is the injustice. And there are those who are making money. Literally, their business plan means a death sentence for many of our communities. And so the reality here is that we have to deal with that aspect, the injustice of the climate crisis. Not just that it's a bad weather, not that we have to ensure that we have supplies and we have enough gas in the car and all that, but the fact that we shouldn't be making the situation worse than it is. And so that's one of the main reasons here, that it's a natural disaster. And we can change it. Now, the irony is that this year marks the 20th anniversary, as we mentioned before. Hip Hop Caucus, you can find out more about that at Katrina20.com. And you can be with us either there or be with us in spirit. Matter of fact, at 11:20, no matter where you are on August 29th, take a moment of silence. Take some time. Just pray not only for those who lost their lives, but for yourself, as we're still in this crisis together. But then from there, the reality is that this moment leads us to deal with the issues of Cancer Alley, because right there by New Orleans is an 85-mile stretch of land between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, where they have petrochemical facilities that's causing cancer and killing predominantly Black and brown people. And so we are not just coming to march. I'm from Louisiana, so we're going to march. We're going to second line. I don't know if folks know what second line is, but we're going to do all that in the streets. but we're going to ensure that we marching for justice, and we're going to do it with our faith and our spirit and our power to know we can make change.
Wow, you touched on a bunch of stuff there, and serious things at its core. You mentioned, petrochemical industry and just sort of, that Gulf of the South sort of like where it's considered ground zero. What's the stake, I guess I would say, if these projects continue, and what is like the alternative? Because clearly everyone is seeing what it's doing, but it's still very much present. Like what's the alternative in that case?
But the first thing is that we know we can change the name from Cancer Alley to Solutions Alley to
Mm,
Prosperity Alley. We can actually change that.
I love that.
We can get companies and industries that aren't killing us. We don't need to die for jobs. That's ridiculous. And
Hmm.
so we can bring in industries, film industries. I know there's a great tax codes in Louisiana, or we can bring in other industries that don't kill us, that don't have to pollute us, that don't increase our cancer, our emphysema, our asthma. That's step one. Step two, I think that unfortunately, there are folks who make a lot of money, and they're making a lot of money on the backs of our people. First, we just shout out to all the amazing people who are in Cancer Alley, who are fighting, but we are going to shut them down. It's time. We cannot allow you
Yeah.
to cause our mothers to have lumps on their breasts, our fathers to pee blood in the morning, our children to have brain cancer. We can't allow for that. And we have so much plastic. We don't need more plastic. We got plastic to go around the globe over and over. As a matter of fact, right now, as human beings, we are consuming about a credit card size worth of plastic every single week that's going into our bodies. And so now we have
Yes.
babies who are being born with plastic. There's plastic in the placenta. So that same petrochemicals that's creating plastic, it's just time for it to stop. So we're going to use August 29th as a day of remembrance, but we're also going to use that as a day to push forward, to say enough is enough. And we're going to make sure that we can transition from fossil fuels to clean energy, and more importantly, to solutions.
And to push forward with the goal of having a plastic free future,
Most
because that's,
definitely.
and and I know, kind of leading up to the 29th, there's already been several initiatives that's been taking place since starting out in June, July, and all of that, right? So how has that momentum been doing so far?
It's doing great. Well, Hip Hop Caucus is an amazing organization. They turned 21 this year. Don't look a day over 20.
Just like you.
Looking young and spriteful. It's a great organization. And I think that they have really understood the connection of storytelling and narrative and showing the connected dots. They believe in using one's cultural expression to
Mhm.
shape one's political experience. And so they've had a number of unveilings at the levees. Levees. So every year we would go to the levees, which
Mhm.
was where the water came in,
Oh yeah,
and
when
every
it
year
broke, yeah.
we would be this very white, kind of pale wall. And so again, we're like, you know what? We're going to design a mural. So this year they
Mm,
painted it. So that same wall that was so devastating in the Ninth Ward now is beautiful with pictures and imagery of the future and what the future can look like. That's one thing. We're policy understand we got to both be in the suites and the streets, and so they've been shaping policy. They've been ensuring that
mhm.
the day in New Orleans is a holiday, August 29th, but also more importantly that it's still the issues are being talked about. They've been galas. I mean, so turning our
Yeah.
grief into joy. I mean, the list goes on. But most importantly, I
Wow.
think in this moment that we're dealing with, where there's so much this fear, we need to show the
Mhm.
world that even if we have been knocked down, we can still rise up.
Wow. And you mentioned too, as far as the storytelling aspect, because I know you guys also launched the what is it, Weathering the Storm video series for
Yeah.
Katrina 20th, with just, those stories and voices. So what can viewers hope to just take away even from that series?
I think if information, I think the most important thing at Hip Hop Caucus, what we've learned is that we have to make sure that we can put out information. Um, Sometimes we need to do it in a way in which we understand it. So it's familiar to our community. Sometimes you
Of
got to
course.
hide information. The Bible says there's sometimes you do the foolish things to confound the wise, and so sometimes you have to, put things in a way that you get it, but everybody don't need to get it. I also think so, like weathering the storm is also an encouragement, so that people can see that and know that no matter if they're not even through the storms, the physical storm, but it's the storms in their life. Just trying to just pay the bills and make it happen. Deal with your partner, deal with your kids, deal with your loved ones. Deal with your community that you can still weather the storm. And I think the one thing about all of that, about Caucus, what we've learned now going on 21 years, is that we do that when we come together and love conquers all. And I believe that with all my heart, and that we are in a long line with our ancestors who came before us. And when we are gone, then the next group will pick up this baton. They will say thank you, because they would say that despite all that was against them, they kept on fighting.
And I love it. I love the messaging. Just love everything that you guys have been doing with Hip Hop Caucus for the last 21 years. And I know one of the messaging that's always been clear as well too is voting rights and climate.
That's
You
right.
mentioned, you've made, voting rights a central part of the climate justice work. So how does protecting the ballot connect to protecting the planet?
Well, democracy is key. I know it's right now. It seems like it's going off the rails, and it is for real. But we have a campaign called "Respect My Vote," which I think is very duly named and noted, to make sure that people can still respect our voting process. One thing I always say is that either you shape policy or policy shapes you. And too many times right now, we are being shaped by policy. But we
Yeah.
can change that by ensuring that on the federal, state, and even local, that our voice is heard. Not only that starts with voting. Now, let me be very clear: voting is not it. It's not an end all be all.
Hmm.
That democracy is not a spectator sport. It just means that that's just a ticket to the arena. But you still got to put on your uniform. You still got to put on your shoes, your cleats, whatever you got. You still got to get there and play. So voting is just a ticket, just to get into the arena. But if you don't have your ticket, you outside. And so I think
Mm,
that's why voting is such an important component for us, to ensure that get your ticket, get in the game, and then once you're in the game, let's figure out, let's strategize, let's figure out what we got to do. But if you ain't got no ticket, you outside. You just talking from the outside the arena, and you're not helpful to the process. So voting
yeah.
is very important. So folks, if you're not registered to vote, please register to vote, and go to respectmyvote.com, and you can find out all what you need to find out right there.
Respectmyvote.com. Definitely will be checking that out and learning a whole bunch more just about the movement and about everything that you guys have been doing for the last, 21 years is a long time.
It's a
And to
long time.
still keep that fervent, still keep true to the mission and still going and continuing to support the core belief of that. That's something impeccable in it of itself. I was living in Far Rockaway at the time, and we didn't have it wasn't as big as Katrina, but we
Mm,
also had Hurricane Sandy, and I was out of
mm.
my house for about a month, so I understand just from a smaller scale, just the displacement and just seeing even when folks were going back in and trying to you know, get the different type of aids to rebuild and all of that. There were some communities that were getting aids super fast and they were rebuilding, and others that were really destroyed were taking months. Sometimes, you walk through these communities, you're like, why haven't they gotten anything to rebuild? So definitely what you guys have been doing there within the Gulf itself is just it's great information and continue to push that. I know we're probably coming up a little bit on time, but just from a I guess a call to action, like for, what can people do? Like for those listening that may not live in the Gulf Coast, like what's one thing they can take today and just stand in solidarities with communities on the front line that's fighting what is from a climate, from an environmental injustice? Like what are certain things they can do to champion this cause from afar?
I think you said the right word, solidarity. I'll start there on August 29th, at 11:20. No matter where you are, take a moment of silence. No matter what time zone you're in, whenever 11:20 hits you, take a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives. Not you're right, not even just with Hurricane Katrina, but think about those who lost from Superstorm Sandy to Hurricane Maria. Those who lost their lives in the wildfires this year in
Yeah.
LA, the floods that happened in Texas. Take that moment to remember that. And I think the next step would be to know, second, personally, make sure you know that it ain't over. Know that it may look rough right now, but it's not. And in community together, I still have a belief that where two or three, God is in the midst. And so I feel that if we can come together, so please go to Hip Hop Caucus. We have a lot going on there. We have our issue around economic justice, issues around voting, issues around climate justice. We have some real fights happening. Join us and be a part of our team, but and send us ideas. But most importantly, know that where we are united, then we can make change happen. And just know the last thing I have to say in this moment, I know people are watching the news. I would say this too. Make sure you take care of yourself. Um, a lot of people are watching doom scrolling and seeing stuff. Make sure you take care of yourself. Eat well, drink your water. Love more, live more, and be okay. And I think just know that again, if God be for you, nothing can be against you.
Reverend, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. But I'll be remiss if I don't ask, can you leave us with a prayer just for anyone that is watching all this, that may be
Most
confused,
definitely.
that may be anxious, that just not even sure when they're taking in all this information, how to process this? Can you leave us with a prayer for anyone that's
Oh,
going to be watching
always,
this?
always, 100%, 100%. Almighty, we thank you for this opportunity to just bring you glory. Right now, there are those who are listening and watching this, and it's been a tough time. It's been a real tough time, particularly in these United States, but over the world. So, right now, just give us peace that goes beyond all understanding. Give those who are feeling discouraged, give those are feeling dismayed, give them this a joy in their spirit. But right now, unify us. Let us know that on August 29th, that'll be a day when we were so much pain, but we can turn it into purpose. So now let us go forth. Let us make sure we do what needs to be done in the spirit of the ancestors, fighting for justice once again. In the name of all the children call you by. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. August 29th, 11:20, everyone. Tap in. So much going on right now. Once again, Reverend, let us know the website where everyone can get connected to everything that's
Yeah,
happening.
two. There's two. Katrina20.com. That's Katrina20.com. And for more information for me, go Hip Hop Caucus everything, social media, but also hiphopcaucus.org.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you.